Hey guys, this is Layout Review, and we're looking over the LCS Week 4 performances. I guess we'll start with my team, Mortals. We did not do so hot on 0-2. We had a rather close game against Dignitas where they drafted Smolder, and we had 3 dragons, and all we had to do was get the 4th one for the soul. But we made a critical mistake on a lane assignment slash like collapse, and then they kind of collapsed on us. We died, lost complete momentum and control, and the game kind of spiraled out as we kind of slowly got outscaled, and that was the game. Should have been Dig. It was definitely better than the first time we played against Dig, because the first time we played against Dig, we had a lot more mistakes. It seemed like some players were nervous. This game, not as much, but that critical error just kind of ended it. And then against FlyQuest, who kind of wiped us out the first time, kind of happened again. My prep was spot on. Like, everything that I thought would happen or possibly could happen did happen. So we were definitely ready for what was going to happen, like what would happen. But we didn't problem solve what to do when he actually level 2 invaded. And our bot lane got zoned and it became really bad real quick. And at that point, like, you just have no agency in bot lane. We had to do a lot of weird, crazy plays like 4-man mid just to get a kill, which should never be the case. But we had to commit those kinds of resources and stuff. And FlyQuest was rather slow at actually pushing the game forward and like just actually like breaking it open. Like, they kind of just farmed dragons, and then we tried to commit plays because we knew we were already kind of losing anyways. Like, we were just slowly losing till like the end of the game. And honestly, we could have made even more plays than we did already, but like the plays we did make, like, FlyQuest kind of just swatted us away. There was like one that was a little bit close, and then FlyQuest just won. So not great at all when you kind of lose the game from just like initial like first 3-minute mistakes, and then you just don't figure out how to kind of get back into the game as quickly as you probably should. But it happens. I mean, the game was going to be really hard anyways when playing from behind with bot lane as TF-AD, so it is what it is. It does show that FlyQuest is still kind of just the exact same team as since they begun. Honestly, like, there's not really a lot that has changed with their playstyle, nor I mean, you don't expect their playstyle to really change that deeply in 4 weeks, but like just the pacing of their games and everything just is the same. And that can be said for how their first game went against Shopify. Like, pretty much Insanity outlaned Jensen, and then they answered and made plays around mid on Jensen. Meanwhile, their bot lane couldn't get anything done, and there even was a mistake involving Inspired and Busio trying to overforce that Shopify outplayed, and that became kind of disastrous because now the one lane that actually actively plays the game, FlyQuest's bot lane, was not performing. So they weren't doing too hot, and their mid laner was not doing too hot, and then top was just even. And what happens is, like, it just slowly plans out where like Shopify has a small lead throughout most of the game. They made one mistake in the side lane where FlyQuest punished, but then Boogie was a superhero and Shopify got it back and they won. That was it. So I'm still not very hyped about FlyQuest as a team. Again, like, yes, like, they are like a reasonable team, but I think it's just because of how LCS teams are, like either it's just player wise or just how they execute as a team just isn't there yet. And FlyQuest can kind of just easily roll over these teams with their like current playstyle. But either if these teams evolve or again they go international, like, things are going to be a lot more difficult if you maintain this same strategy. Meanwhile, 100 Thieves picked up 2 more wins, and now they have a 4-win streak, which is crazy because again, they are the team that has all rookies. And my thought process in the recent video I made on them is following true. They are very open to taking risks and fighting and doing whatever they need to do, and that is actually helping them learn quicker and improve quicker than other teams because they're used to these high pressure situations on stage, not scrims, because every single team in scrims will play more freely, right? Like that happens all the time. Like people say like, oh, it's such a good scrim team, but then these guys suck on stage, you know? That's because like they're just not playing the same way they play on scrims. And of course, naturally, people play safer in scrims too, so not all the kind of plays you make are going to work. However, 100 Thieves seems to be able to transfer and showcase this boldness and confidence in each other on their own individual plays. And that's why Quid looks great. I'm sure Quid is feeling super confident, like, yeah, okay, I can definitely do this. Like, I know I was really scared when I came over the first time. I had no idea what it was like. Now, like, I feel comfortable with my team, and I'm going to just play forward. So Quid is feeling really great. Sniper's getting better. Mela's still kind of whatever, but Beach is kind of doing the same job, I'll be honest, and then River's doing great. And the team is just, they're just vibing. They're doing really good. Like the C9 matchup was, they literally had a lead. Sniper won. Sniper had to win his lane, basically. They wanted any chance of having side control because it was Olaf and Akali for C9, and then it was Aatrox and Talia. Of course, naturally, Akali will do better inside than Talia, and if Olaf is ahead versus Aatrox or can like get pushed, then naturally like they have 2 side pushes. The game is just going to be really difficult for 100 of these to play. Sniper actually kills Olaf, and now he actually has presence in the side, and then he even committed a play on Jojo in the side that surprised Jojo, and if not for Bwipo's TP, Jojo either would have been forced out or he would have died. Those 2 situations would have occurred. But they had, C9 had to spend 3 people on him. At that point, Quid already had the top push. Like he was like well within about to hit the tier 1 top. So Quid got all this time, farm, take a turret. Meanwhile, Jojo got nothing. And Jojo at that point was up like 20 CS. So Sniper's one play, which, yes, it can look kind of stupid because it's like, okay, he died. Like, he should have known that they could respond to him. But because he had a silent, I don't know if it was like purpose, by the way, but the fact that Quid was already set up on topside to get something in return meant that Quid bounced back. So now Quid is in a good spot to play the game. Sniper's still in a fine spot to play the game. And then the momentum kind of starts shifting into 100 Thieves space. And then they start pressing. Of course, Meech makes a mistake. And then Blabber and Vulcan kind of start making mistakes on their engages, along with how Jojo flanks was kind of bad. And I don't know, they just didn't seem really like... I just feel like they don't understand how to like talk to each other when it gets into these fight situations. Like, you don't have to full commit in fights if you miss. Like, you're playing Bard and Sejuani, which are 2 of the champions that actually don't have to full commit. It's not like you're playing Jarvan, Nautilus, Xin Like, you're not playing any of these champs that have like, oh, like if I'm in kind of situation. But yet they like still overcommit in those situations, and then they just kind of die. Like, Jojo should know better to like tell him like, don't do anything yet. Like, I'm just not in range. Jojo should also know not to put himself in isolated risks if he can help himself. Berserker did great. Like, Berserker Zeri is so much better for the team versus other picks. So that was really good for him. And he even got a pentakill in that game, by the way, which is crazy to think that C9 lost a game where Zeri literally pentakilled, is in extremely good spot, and they still lose the game, and they lost the game because they're making these fight mistakes, and 100 Thieves knows what to do in those mistakes and win. And they literally won through fighting. Like, that's crazy. And then who did they beat the next day? Was that the first? No, that was yesterday. Who did they beat the day before? Oh, TL, right. Yeah, okay. They beat TL too, and I think TL right now is like probably exactly where everyone expected. Like APA is okay. Impact is looking worse. Honestly, Impact is not looking that great. Like he almost feels like a 50-50 player right now. Like, yeah, he still like gives impact like he does, but I'm not too excited for him right now. And also is like making random mistakes. So is Core. So literally they have their 3 Koreans that are all making random mistakes at times. And yes, like I said, APA and Yeon are not like exactly the greatest of players. But you can't have like your strong set, your trio also making these random mistakes in the games, or else that's probably why they're 5-4. Like that's why they can't really push up the boundary. Because clearly 100 Thieves, you know, yes, Quid is more talented than APA. Sniper at this point is more talented than Impact, but Impact is far like smarter about the game and should have a level of like presence over Sniper because of that, right? Say like Umpty is an experienced LCK jungler versus an experienced player. Like there's certain things that just should not be happening, but they are. So that's something TL kind of has to get over because they beat, who was it? Was it Energy? Shopify? It was Shopify. They beat Shopify the next day. And they played like an Soul comp. But it felt like Shopify were more on like on their back heels in the game, and like they had to overforce some big like engages just to even kill certain members like APA's Soul. So it wasn't really exactly going the right pacing for Shopify in the first place, and I think this team is still trying to find their way through things, whereas TL is like, it seems like APA is pulling more back into his like regular like normal picks that he's always played, which I mean it's fine, but it definitely doesn't help long term. It's good short term, but it's definitely not good long term. So hopefully they can not have to keep relying on that. And then Dignitas went 2-0. Like I said, they beat us, played Smolder, and then they beat Energy, right? They beat Energy. Yes. So they beat Energy. I think this is their first 2-0. I think the surprising thing about Dig is I think I've talked about Dove before, and that I wasn't exactly sure how well Dove would do. Like I watched his games leading up to week 1 for scouting sense, and it's like, okay, he's pretty good at flanking and finding like opportunities this way. His laning is actually like okay. Like surprisingly enough, he's been doing fine. Like really, like he adds quite a bit of impact in fights and tests the enemy pretty well. Like he absolutely dumpstered Palafox. And because he has a willingness to make plays, like this helps push the team forward and draws attention. So then Tomo can do stuff. So now Tomo this year actually had, because Jensen wasn't like that. Jensen's not like that, whereas Dove is. So now Tomo actually has someone like pulling this attention away. So now Tomo can actually play the game he wants to. And of course, Rich had a really killer game versus Energy. Like he kind of hard carried that game, which he's had a few LCS games at this point where it's like, shit, this guy is killing it. Like if he did not have this team, if he was on a different team, like oh man, like if Rich was on C9, ooh baby, he'd be cooking. But yeah, Dig picked up 2 wins. That puts them in a really good spot because now they're 4-5. Of course, if you look at the standings, the team that's in 3rd place, TL, is only 5-4. So like they're right around the corner, and picking up wins against like some of these top dogs like Energy, FlyQuest, C9, really great, because if these teams turn it around after the break, they're gonna shoot up. So you're getting wins before that happens. It's really good. And Energy's like, ooh, I don't know. They've been kind of falling apart. If you look at the week 3, who did they lose to? They lost to us. I remember that game. It was they kind of it was a little bit of a messy game. I'd say that. It was kind of a little bit of a mess. And they lost to Shopify, right? And so they're losing to Dig and they're losing to C9. And the C9 game, I remember it was Azir versus Talia again, like week 1. Except Palafox did better with contracts. And also, keep in mind, this is a game where Energy had like Senna, TK, and Vi, like all picks that Energy are great at and used to success so far in this split. And they just kind of fumbled the bag. Like FBI just made like random mistakes. Contracts made some mistakes. Palafox like inted like his finishing like carry at sake of the game, which I mean is pretty typical of him. Like I don't know what to say. Like unfortunately, like you can do well, but like for some odd reason, there's players who just don't finish through always, and like he's one of those players who sometimes just doesn't. And of course, Dokla is absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. Like this guy is just not good. Not playing well. He doesn't have a good champ pool. He's been a real hindrance to the team, and if they had someone else, they would be doing better for sure. That is, I'm certain on that. And I think the Dig game, like I think it was Nocturne or Contracts, and it was like an Oriana pick, I think for Palafox, and yeah, like Dove like smashed him. The Contracts kind of got like pushed out often because Dig was playing Ivern, so it's a little bit of a different take for XQ2 versus like the standard like user bridge picks. And like I said, four game loss is not good. You're starting to slip, and over the break they kind of have to retool and get Dokla's champ pool up. They need to clean up these random deaths, these dumb like errors, and at least make sure they're getting like trading back on the map well. Because if you look at 100 Thieves, like I view Energy and 100 Thieves as a little similar in the sense that both these teams should be confident on taking fights and pushing the game forward, because that is something Energy has been. Like they will take fights because of contracts. And it's something I think C9 needs to be doing and should do, because they should be the best team at it. In like it's Blabber, Jojo, then you have Fudge, and then you have Berserker and Vulcan. Like that team should be willing to take fights and just out execute your opponents and push the pace of the game. Like that should be what C9 is, but not. It kind of did that against Energy a little bit. But then they didn't really do it so much against 100 until there was like just a flip. And then they got the momentum fully back, which was like, okay. So yeah, Energy has a lot to work on. My team has a lot to work on. Clearly, we're still just making some random mistakes that kind of just like I've definitely know there's been like 2 or 3 games that we semi lost from the first 3 minutes, which can't happen. FlyQuest, again, I think this team actually has to evolve. They could keep winning, honestly. They really could just keep winning. Maybe they could win the whole thing. But I think for like long-term growth, it's terrible. So personally, it'd be good for them to actually make some switches for the break. 100 Thieves, I think they just keep doing what they're doing. And there's some things they can work on, but like they have to just hold on to momentum, because if they lose it, yeah, they could just pick up a whole bunch of losses in a row all of a sudden if they lose like that steam. But if they keep it, they'll be fine. Team Liquid, it's like the same thing as Energy in a way, that like they kind of needed to clean up these like random mistakes that are happening. And you know, if the players that are supposed to be stable are more stable, then they'll start picking up more wins, and that's when they'll start contesting towards the top more. Cloud9, play more aggressive, have to. Like, you have the players to do it, but don't play some stable game like FlyQuest. That's not your style. I don't know why they play it that way, but they do. Dignitas, I think they have a decent idea what they're doing at this point. Like, I feel like they have a decent idea at this point, and they should probably just keep on that trend, and then just, you know, have XU work on making sure he's doing the best decisions he can. And then for Shopify, it's like, how would I say it? They just need to figure themselves out. I guess that's the best way I could put it. They just have to figure themselves out, because they're still not fully there on what they. Well, there's some limiters that I could talk about, like in terms of like champ pool and just how certain players are performing, but I think they still need like a bit more time to kind of solidify things, and because they're playing, I feel like they're playing catch up compared to the rest, and if they can do so, they probably can be middle pack again. So that's my thoughts so far on LCS week 4. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.